Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth, and fancy seeing you here in June. I very welcome my friends and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Welcome back to Big Mouth, and I'm Mick Meanus. You can find me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad as my coverage of the Joker continues, because this is massive for me. This is a DC movie, a highly anticipated DC movie. Everyone is talking about it, and the coverage here on my channel, Big Mouth, will continue, so I hope you're enjoying it. So Deadline have an article, because basically it's the Venice Film Festival today. Joaquin Phoenix and Todd Phillips are there. The movie's been screened already, 15 minutes late, because this was the biggest queue for a film, which you'll discover as I read this article on Deadline. So I'm really, really excited, and I'm excited that the whole world's excited, to be honest. Joker's Joaquin Phoenix and Todd Phillips on creating DC character study and finding that laugh. After unveiling footage at industry events and dropping the latest trailer just this week, Warner Bros. World premieres Joker at the Venice Film Festival today, the most anticipated film of the event. Where am I? The Todd Phillips directed DC origin story screened for the Lido Press Corps this morning, with the longest lines I have ever seen for a movie here. The 8:30 a.m. showing actually started 15 minutes late, and that never happens. The press calls later packed the conference room to give Phillips and stars Joaquin Phoenix and Zazie Beetz a very enthusiastic greeting, and don't they deserve it? Joker's Venice presence indicates an eye on award seasons. It's already generated early Oscar buzz before arriving here. The original reinvention of the familiar mythology is a unique standalone story that introduces Phoenix as Arthur Fleck, a man struggling to find his way in Gotham's fractured society, a clown for hire by day. He aspires to be a stand-up comic at night, but finds the joke always seems to be on him. Caught in a cynical existence between apathy and cruelty, Arthur makes one bad decision that brings about a chain reaction of escalating events. The movie's like a bit of a time bomb, actually, and that actually describes it brilliantly. Phillips is best known for the Hangover movies, but said he doesn't see Joker as that big of a departure. Really, Todd? It's different tonally than a lot of my work, but ultimately it's storytelling. I was influenced by the movies I grew up on, character studies of the 70s, so I thought, why can't you do genre film like that in the comic book world? A deep dive on a character like Joker. I thought with a great actor we could really do something special, and didn't we get a great actor? Phoenix said he was drawn to the project because we were going to approach it in our own way. I didn't refer to any past irritations of the character. I just felt like it was our creation. He expanded on that to add, I think what was so attractive is he's so hard to define, that's true, and you don't really want to define him. There were times I would find I was identifying certain parts of his personality, and then I would back away from that because I wanted there to remain a kind of mystery. Every day I felt like we were discovering new aspects of the character. Phillips described his take on Arthur as a guy who is searching for identity, who mistakenly becomes a symbol. His goal genuinely is to make people laugh and bring joy to the world. An early reference for Phillips and co-screenwriter Scott Silver was 1928's silent film The Man Who Laughs. They felt they had a lot of freedom because Joker never really had an origin story in the comics. We thought it was really liberating because there really were no rules or boundaries. Scott and I just pushed each other every day to come up with something totally insane, and didn't you just? In terms of prep, the first part for Phoenix was physical. You really start to go mad when you start to lose that much weight in that amount of time. He also read about political assassins and would-be assassins, but was careful not to overly define Arthur. I wanted the freedom to create something that wasn't identifiable. I didn't want a psychologist to be able to identify the kind of person he was, he explained. A key element of finding the character came during rehearsal when Phillips gave Phoenix a journal, which acts as a prop in the film, said Phoenix. That was really helpful, but I wasn't sure how to start. It became really important to part of discovery for me at that time. As for the character's laugh, which Phillips broke down into 3 types, the affliction laugh, the one of the guys laugh, and authentic joy laugh. Guys laugh and the authentic joy laugh. The director described it it to Phoenix as something that is almost painful, part of him that he's trying to emerge. That was really interesting way of looking at this laugh. We all assume what a Joker laugh is. This was new and exciting. Probed about gravitating towards tormented characters, Phoenix disagreed and said he had been interested in the light of Arthur, for lack of a better word. It wasn't just the torment, it was the joy, his struggle to find happiness and to feel connected, to have warmth and love. I don't think of the character as tormented. Ultimately, Phoenix said of Arthur Joker, he was so many different things to me at different times. The more unpredictable it was, the more inspiring. I'm very emotional right now and I'm sorry. When asked about violence in the R-rated film, Phillips said, violence in the movie was always meant to be a slow burn. People assume and think it's going to be a really violent movie. It affects you differently. You could watch something like John Wick 3 and there's much higher amount of violence. We try to paint it with as realistic a brush as possible, so when it comes, it feels like a punch in the stomach, but it's all a balancing act of tone. And what about that tone? I think movies are oftentimes mirrors of society, but never moulders. We wrote it in 2017, so inevitably certain things find their way in. When he continued, it's not a political film. There was laughter in the press room, and he added for some, I think it depends the lens which you view it through. And does Joker mean anything for DC Marvel rival? Phillips didn't take the bait. I'm not about the competition with Marvel. I've not been in the comic book world. When we conceived of this idea, it was a different approach. I don't know the sort of effect it will have with other filmmakers. Comic movies are doing really well. They don't need to change. I'm afraid, Todd, you've created something so special, they're going to have to change. But the problem is, the MCU and Disney aren't going to be able to follow Warner Brothers DC and Walter Hamada and your good self on this amazing, amazing road. So I thought I'd bring you that article. It's great that they're at the festival. It's great that they're talking now. I'm going to be looking on YouTube later on to watch some videos and study up. I'm also going to be watching Taxi Driver, the comedian one, as well. But Taxi Driver is actually a film I have never seen. I'm a big Robert De Niro fan and I've never seen Taxi Driver. I'm ashamed to admit it. I'll confess something else. I've never seen the Godfather trilogy. I know, unsubscribe. No, please don't unsubscribe. So, as you can see, I'm very emotional about this film. I'm very invested in its success. I want it to do well. As a DC fan, this is massive to me. The commentary on mental illness as well is very close to my heart. This is a film that has been really thought about, and I'm so excited. So I hope you enjoyed the article, and I hope you'll be back for more Joker movie coverage. But that's not all we're doing on here. Anything can happen at any time, and if anything breaks, I'll be back later.